won't be very nutritive to enable you to eat to live. You won't take any trouble over it. You won't love it. Look, when you get materials, you've got some onions, you've got some fish, you've got a slice of beef. You can't cook that properly unless you love it. All those are dead creatures which have died in your honor. What are you going to do about that? The only way to deal respectably with a creature that has died in your honor is to give it an honorable death. The dead cow you are eating is becoming you. The least you can do for it is to let it enjoy itself as you. Therefore, the stove in the kitchen is an altar, and you are a priest, and you should reverence it. That gorgeous thing. Look at the beautiful background. You've got this thing. It's a living being that's died to give you life.
This is my plan. The fundamental problem of linear algebra, which is to solve a system of linear equations. So let's start with the case when we have some number of equations, say n equations and n unknowns. So an equal number of equations and unknowns. That's the normal nice case. And what I want to do is, with examples of course, to describe first what I call the row picture. That's the picture of one equation at a time. It's the picture you've seen before in 2x2 equations where lines meet. So in a minute you'll see lines meeting. The second picture, I put a star beside that because that's such an important one. And maybe new to you is the picture a column at a time. And those are the rows and columns of a matrix. So the third, the algebra way to look at the problem is the matrix form using a matrix that I'll call A. Okay, so can I do an example? The whole semester will be examples and then see what's going on with the example. So take an example. Two equations, two unknowns. So let me take 2x minus y equals 0, let's say, and minus x plus, say, 2y equals 3. Okay. I can even say right away, what's the matrix what's the coefficient matrix? The matrix that involves these numbers. A matrix is just a rectangular array of numbers. Here it's 2 rows and 2 columns. So 2 and minus 1 in the first row, minus 1 and 2 in the second row. That's the matrix. And the right hand, the unknown. Well, we've got 2 unknowns. So we've got a vector, x with 2 components, x and y. And we've got 2 right-hand sides that go into a vector 0, 3. I couldn't resist writing the matrix form even before the pictures. So I always will think of this as the matrix A, the matrix of coefficients. Then there's a vector of unknowns. Here we've only got 2 unknowns. Later we'll have any number of unknowns. And that vector of unknowns, well, I'll often make that extra bold. And the right-hand side is also a vector that I'll always call B. So linear equations are AX equal B, and the idea now is to solve this particular example, and then step back to see the bigger picture. Okay, what's the picture for this example? The row picture. So here comes the row picture. So that means I take one row at a time, and I'm drawing here the XY plane, and I'm going to plot all the points that satisfy that first equation. So I'm looking at all it's often good to start with which point on the horizontal line. On this horizontal line, y is 0. The x-axis has y is 0, and that, in this case, actually, then x is 0. So the point, the origin, the point with coordinates 0, 0, is...
moves you more than anything else that's available. And again, if you can act upon it with integrity, the reality is showing you through an elaborate set of feedback that that choice is most you. When you act according to what is most you in every given moment, you create an effect. First of all, in that moment, you create the feeling that of all things that are available, this is correct for me. This is the thing that I can do most effortlessly because it is most representative of who I am. By establishing who you are in the moment, you rule out other possibilities. You get that instantaneous feeling and knowingness that this is most me. You also create what you call a causal and effect seeming phenomena in your reality. So when you act upon something in a moment, there even seems to be another echo effect in what you call a successive now moment. So you have a set of options. You act upon that option. You get an immediate effect. What you put out is what you get back instantaneously. But the way that your reality, a characteristic of your reality, is that you also get an echo reflection of that generally approximately 3 days down the line. Now, if you are acting upon your integrity, if you are acting with your excitement, you get that instantaneous understanding, knowingness, and gratification. And then 3 days later, generally, this is very general, there is a positive effect from the action that you have took because your reality is similar to the domino effect where when you take an action, it results in a cascading of other actions which then generally brings another effect down the line. So 3 days later, you come upon a circumstance, and if you have acted from your integrity and excitement, that circumstance seems compellingly positive. The adverse is also true. When you act according to obligations, something perhaps that doesn't excite you, something perhaps that is not within your integrity, you immediately get that effect in that moment. But again, approximately 3 days down the line, there is some other physical effect from that as well, from the successive set of actions, putting into play, as I have said, a cascading effect in your reality. 3 days later, something seems to happen which would seem negative. Now, I remind you once again, all events are actually a neutral set of props. You assign the meaning, and the meaning you assign determines the effect you get out of it. Certain things, however, do seem to be more compellingly easy to label negative, and certain things would seem more compellingly easy to label positive. And what I am sharing is that the reason that this happens is that this is the echo from being who you are, being positive, acting with integrity, or not. The point of all this is as follows. When you begin to get off the fence and act according to who you are, with your integrity, with your excitement, continuously, flawlessly, without interruption, without pause, 3 days later, and 3 days later, and 3 days later, there is an accumulative effect, there is an accumulative echo of neutral events which would seem more overwhelmingly easy to label positive. When you continually do things that do not excite you and are not representative of who you choose to be, the opposite happens. Things come along which seem to be very negative. If you do both, sometimes what is
represented self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe, are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Is it? Yes. Settled? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.
Most true, most true, most true.